Hello, everyone, and welcome to our review of The Whale, directed by Darren Aronofsky, starring Brendan Fraser, Sadie Sink, Hong Chow, amongst others. Based on a play,
Amongst three others. It's a very small
amongst three
cast.
others. Yeah, it's based on a play, and it's still very much got a play ensemble here and a play setting. And it doesn't really quite achieve cinematic attentions to spoil a little bit of our thoughts. But yeah, gonna talk about The Whale. What do you think about The Whale, Anthony?
Oh boy. Okay. So it's very clear that this does not grow from the stage to the screen. And I think there have been other play adaptations. We've seen a lot in the last couple of years. But I think the issue I found with The Whale is that it was so it had such a desire to leave this setting and to grow into
It
something
did.
that resembled the cinematic, which it doesn't. It's not allowed to. And I question that. I question why we were talking about so many things off camera that we could have seen. Things that I think would have done a better job at allowing us to understand these characters, because as they are, there seemed to be such a dissonance between what was being talked about and then what we were allowed to see, especially in the characterizations of Sadie Sink, who plays Brendan Fraser's daughter, and Samantha Morton, who plays his ex-wife. Those characters
Yeah.
do not feel like the same people on and off screen, and it does the movie a major disservice because the movie is essentially about that family unit coming apart off screen. So many things happen off screen. The inciting incidents for all these characters happen before the movie. The resolution for Ty Simpkins Thomas happens off screen. I was shocked at so often how we weren't actually getting the chance to see these narrative things evolve. And I mean, it would be shocking in a play itself on stage, but even more shocking in film when you have the unlimited capabilities of going anywhere with a camera. So I think this definitely doesn't really utilize the tools of cinema. And so you just have that issue, but then you also have the moral issue of what this movie is
Yeah.
depicting and how it depicts it. Um, do you want to get into that
I
first?
guess I can start with that. I would agree with everything you said about the play stuff. It really it feels stuck. Lots of movies we've seen recently
Yeah.
gone from plays to films, and they very much graduate to the cinematic level. I mean, movies like The Father, even One Night in Miami with a first-time director, I feel like graduated more to the screen than this movie does. Um yeah.
Which, can I just say, you could
Yeah.
argue that that is an intentional directorial choice for the audience to feel one with Charlie, Brendan Fraser, and that you're also stuck in this location. But
Yeah.
then that shouldn't be a consistent choice in scenes when he's not in, like the
Yeah.
scenes with Sadie Sink and Ty Simpkins. Like they're
Yeah.
not stuck to that location. They can leave. That would be a great opportunity to let us look into their internal worlds and leave the house. If this was a movie that knew it was a movie. Sorry,
Yeah,
continue.
no, I agree. And then in terms of the morals, I just don't think Darren Aronofsky is the right person to be directing and helming this film. I feel like, we talk a lot about like having people tell their own stories, having directors of color tell stories about the characters of color as the lead, women telling women's stories, et cetera, et cetera. I feel like maybe you should have had someone who at least had a little more experience with being overweight than Darren Aronofsky has. The way he treats Charlie. I know it's also based on a play, but it's
And it's
often,
the playwright wrote the screenplay. He
yeah,
came
the
along for
playwright
the
wrote the
ride.
screenplay. Yeah, he's Samuel D. Hunter. He's involved with the ride here. Um, but the way the film in particular cinematically with the camera and just also with the language and the other characters portrays Charlie, very cruel. And I know this is a film that's kind of like praising and going for like go empathy, especially by the end, like praising like empathy, but the film itself is just not empathetic at all. The film is I surprised me with how cruel it treats and portrays Charlie. It treats him like almost like a monster, like an other, especially in certain scenes where like it doesn't treat him like a human. And then
Treats
the
him like an
whole
animal. It treats him
yeah,
like a whale. They call him a
the
there's an and
eighth
there's
graders
a
also don't read
yeah
Moby Dick, by the way, but whatever on that. I don't understand. That's like such a forced thing,
yeah.
but yeah, the movie treats him like an animal, like whale, based on the title.
I
And
was
then the
even
movie
told
goes
I
on to
didn't I
praise empathy, and it's like it's
yeah
such a contradictory thing. It's yeah.
I didn't catch this myself, but I was told that there's a moment when his sweat stain on his back looks like a whale tail.
Oh, I didn't see that either.
So maybe
But
somebody in the comments of who's seen it can tell us if that's true. But yeah, what I was thinking, because listen, I understand there is, we like to assume that people of a certain culture or a group or a minority will if given the chance, tell authentic stories. And true, that logic does seem true. But that doesn't mean that if you're not in that group, you can't also tell a story
Oh
that
yeah,
is authentic and honest and respectful. So
Aronofsky just didn't.
I think first off, the issue with Aronofsky directing this is that he directs a lot of films. You know, some of my favorite film of his is Black Swan, but I think Mother is another
Mhm.
example of this, which I did enjoy. I remember enjoying. It's been a
Yeah.
while, um, but he tells stories about characters who are innocent, who who are trying to discover themselves and their relationship with the world, and then they realize how dark the world is, and they succumb to the darkness. That is Black Swan. That's Mother. You know, a lot of his other movies, you get this idea that the characters are trying to fight something, and
Hmm.
often they can't fight it. Those movies end where this begins. And I think
Yeah.
Aronofsky proves that he is not adept to dealing with a character at this stage in their journey, because he wants them to be questioned by this darkness that's already existing in the movie. Like, you can't go lower than what the movie wants. And so the movie then decides to answer that desire within his directorial gaze to be cruelty, have Sadie Sink yell insults at him that just never made sense. I never
Poor Sadie Sink.
understood. I, I feel really bad because no actor could have made that role
It's a
work.
terribly written role for a character that's just unrealistically cruel and evil and just has no layers or dimension to
And then
them.
the
And I
movie
just
lets
feel so
off the
bad for her.
hook because the movie then tries to
Yeah.
say that one of her actions is altruistic when it is definitely not,
It's
because
yeah,
I'm just gonna
cruel.
say it. It's not a huge spoiler, but she
No,
takes a picture of Ty Simpkins, and it somehow leads to something good happening for Ty Simpkins. And Charlie, her father, is like, "Look, she's a good person." It's like, no, because she also took a picture of you and put it
yeah,
on her Facebook page, which also I don't know a lot of teens her
on
age.
Facebook.
I don't have Facebook. I don't know how
Nope.
many people have Facebook. That would probably be like Snapchat or TikTok.
Instagram or yeah.
Yeah, Facebook would be like the least. That's a nitpick.
It would be,
But
yeah.
still, like, she takes a picture of him, and it's like that wasn't trying to do something good. She's trying to be mean. And the movie just, there are certain huge plot holes in the characterizations that I found really troubling. And then the big thing is that this movie is so focused on the external. It's
Yeah.
focused, you know, Aronofsky and D. Hunter are only focused on that which they can see. And I think what it reminds me of is, I think, and this is my personal opinion, that when it comes to the should gay actors only play gay roles, you know, I think that's difficult because being
Yeah.
gay or being part of the LGBT community, that your sexuality is an internal thing. That's something that you can hide. You don't have to present. And some, you
Yeah.
know, it's not like you're born and you are already that thing. You come to discover that about yourself. Even if that's who you always were, you still you can't tell based on the physical appearance of somebody that
Yeah.
they're gay or something. But you can with race, and also if you're overweight, you can actually see that. And what I don't like that this movie does is it says that being overweight is a physical thing only. It's all about costume and makeup, and you're then conflating that is what defines the experience of being overweight. That is not the case. I guarantee you, it's about being, it's everything happening underneath. It's the internal journey. It's how you see yourself, now how do others see you. That's what the major conflict is. And what I just found so annoying about this movie, and it's kind of dangerous and irresponsible in many ways,
It is, yeah.
because it's it's just diminishing all these things to, oh, he's overweight, just look how, you know, overweight he is, and just 600 pounds and all that. And it's all achieved through makeup, and it's not interested in what he's feeling and what he's going through. I guarantee you can take the same script and it'll still have problems, but not put him in the makeup, and I think the movie would be better for it. And you could still get the same inner turmoil, because it doesn't matter what he looks like. The issue is what he feels like. And I
Hmm.
really don't like the thing that if you're transgender, if you're black, which I think Babylon, and the other side, I think Babylon actually depicts this really strikingly, and is, that's why I think that movie is great, because it actually dares to call out the hypocrisy of
Yeah.
film like The Whale. And then when it comes to being overweight, you're saying that it's achieved through costume, it's achieved through makeup, and using those tools to capture an internal experience, I think is very faulty, and why I think The Whale is just the less people see it, the better.
Yeah, please. I just don't suggest this movie at all. I mean,
Ooh, I got
Brent,
heated. I
I agree. I
got...
mean, it's honestly in contention for one of my worst films of the year. There are films that are just like not incredibly well made, that are just like mediocre, like a Black Adam. Like that's like fine. I would honestly, this Black Adam's not dangerous. This film is dangerous in terms of like the way it presents things. Um,
Yeah. And
yeah,
even like
I
the
just
final moment of the movie is he has to prove his worth through a physical act. It's all focused on the physical. It's like, no,
mhm.
why can't something internal exalt him spiritually? If the movie's about, connecting to your spirituality in many forms, whether it's religion or something else, like I just don't get it. And then also like there is a subplot involving Charlie being gay. We
Yeah,
never get to see it. It's all talked about. And I just think, it's another part of the story that if you're going to talk about, I just felt like I never knew him and he doesn't really arc. What is his journey? I
no, he
think
doesn't
none of these
much.
characters arc. And that's the issue is that this is never moving towards something. This is not motivated towards any
Stagnant. Yeah.
real discernible theme to me.
No, it's really just a mess, is what it comes down to. It's very messy. I will give props to Brendan Fraser, who you can really feel his passion for this role, and like, and he gives a good performance with what he has given. It's just the stuff that he has given is not good in the slightest. Yeah, I feel for all the actors in this film. I think all of them did the best that they could with what they were given. Hong Chow, honestly, is probably my standout of the cast. She has an interesting relationship with Charlie. Also at points a little problematic. But yeah, I
I didn't
I would
believe
say
her though in any scene she was in, really.
I didn't
Well,
believe any of the
there
characters
was
in
one
any
scene I
scenes.
believed, which was on a porch, the only thing that isn't in the house.
Yeah, yeah,
But I didn't believe her as this like caretaker type of figure. I feel bad because I think the actors are trying to discern what perspective on life this movie has, and it never
hmm
decides. And
it
you
doesn't.
said it's very, it's trying to push this empathetic ending that the movie doesn't earn
The film
because
itself is the opposite of empathetic. It's
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 so
cruel.
nihilistic and nihilism and optimism contradict each other, and unfortunately nihilism is not only more powerfully domineering as an
hmm
idea, but it's also the filmmaker's preference. So of course that's what's
Yeah,
going to end, that's the taste that you're going to end with.
and that's just why this isn't the project for him. I'm not sure what drew him to the project, but I just really don't think this should have been Darren Aronofsky's project. He's a good director. Like you mentioned, a lot of the stuff he's done before. He's
I
hit or
love
miss
Black
with me.
Swan. Black Swan
Yeah,
is a brilliant movie,
yeah,
but this,
just not this. Yeah, yeah. Any other thoughts before we get into Oscar prospects?
I think this is Brandon Fraser only for an Oscar nomination. I don't think the script will get
Yeah,
nominated. I mean, if it did, I'd be shocked, and it would be the number
I
five.
really don't want it to, but I mean,
Oh yeah,
adapted screenplay is just so hard to predict. Like Glass Onion, Women Talking, probably She Said,
I put She Said back
Living.
in over this, so that
Yeah,
shows
the
you how
script here is just
classic. I
not
was
good.
saying She Said is not getting in. I do think She Said will get in over this, having seen it.
Yeah,
Um, and then maybe Makeup, which would be it would be
I
like
was
one of
gonna
the
get Makeup.
worst
Yeah,
nominations I think ever as far as what it represents.
totally. It's just the
But
Makeup branch loves that stuff.
yeah, so I think it will get two, two minimum, three maximum nominations. And
I would
it's
agree.
not, honestly, as my listen, I applaud Brendan Fraser. I think he's a tremendous
Wish the
talent.
best for him. I'm
I
glad
wish
he's
the
having
best
a
for him, but I would
comeback.
not nominate this performance. I wouldn't nominate a single thing about this movie. I
No.
because what you're saying is like, Black Adam, Jurassic World Dominion, Morbius. These are not well-made movies, but
Yeah.
they don't do the harm that I think this movie puts out. I always say that I think, you should be able to tell any story you want unless it promotes hatred. And to be honest, I think this gets pretty
This
close
does.
to that because I don't think it earns its ending. And so then most of the movie is just being cruel to him and looking at him, and I think because of Aronofsky, you come into this with the same like his how how he interprets the subjects of his movies, and you're looking at him and his disfigurement, or excuse me, his overweightness as a disfigurement,
hmm
and it's, oh my god, yeah. So
Yeah, I would agree. Brendan Fraser is probably definitely gonna happen. He's got the narrative for it. I don't think he's win competitive. I think we've
he's
both
number
decided
four.
that a while
He might
ago.
be
Yeah.
number five. I think Tom Cruise could maybe get it over him.
Yeah, I'm glad to say I've never had him as my number one this entire season. I know lots of people have been rooting for him throughout the whole season. It just from the beginning didn't seem like something that was win competitive to me. And the movie itself just like I think was destined for controversy, so it's not going to get into picture, thankfully. Yeah, Brendan Fraser, I would say makeup is going to happen, and then I hope adapted screenplay doesn't happen, but it's definitely in one of those like final open spots in contention. Yeah, but
We'll see.
what would you rate this movie?
Oh, I mean,
Yeah.
because here's the thing, Matthew Libatique shot it. He was a very accomplished cinematographer, so I do think that the color, it's
There's some well
colored
done
quite
aspects. Yeah.
nicely. I think the performances are they
Try.
try, and I think Samantha Morton and Brendan Fraser, these are talented actors, so like they find it's. I didn't want to walk out, as much as I don't
No.
like the movie. The more I think about it, the more I very very much dislike it. But in the moment, I didn't hate it as much as I do now. So it's difficult. What's your number?
I I would also say to anyone who has had issues with eating or food before, this is like I wouldn't maybe watch this movie. The way it depicts stuff is just gross. But yeah, in terms of what I would rate this movie, on Letterboxd I have a star and a half, so I guess that is a 3 out of 10, which might that feels honestly maybe a little generous. I would say like 2.5, 3 out of 10. I just this is didn't work for me at all. And I also want to address, I know that there are lots of people out here who love this movie. This is very polarized. There are people who like it's one of their favorites of the year and it really resonated with them and they really loved it. And I don't want to diminish any of your thoughts about this. I know this is a review where it's two people who very much did not like the movie. So if you did like the movie, please comment and tell us why down below. I would love to hear it. And yeah, I'm glad that you
Yeah,
enjoyed the film.
we can only
We just
say
did.
that which we feel, and this is just
Yeah.
how we feel about the movie. And I don't think we never mince how positive we are about movies we love. So I think it would be irresponsible of
Yeah.
us to mince how we feel now. Um, but yeah, it just I just I think this does for all for all the things that like Lizzo has been doing with her show. I think what's it called, like big claps for the big girl something. It's like
Something. Lots of
let's
body
hear it for the big girl something.
positivity.
But like
Yeah.
there's a lot of good that's doing as far as body positivity. I think more so than there ever has been, and I still think it's a difficult conversation to have, but I don't think this is engaging in it in any positive way.
No.
And I think it's the issue I find here ultimately is that the weight is used as a hindrance. And you could argue that, okay, so it's representative of the weights we carry. Well, again, there are ways to do it that don't feel like that's as you said, the tone is all over the place. It's sympathetic and then horrified at his weight.
Hmm.
And I don't think the movie does a clear enough job if it's saying that the other characters are horrified at his weight. They don't make that delineation clear enough. So,
They don't.
and it doesn't, he doesn't have to be 600 pounds. He could have been his weight, a little bit more maybe, and you could tell the same story and probably be even better because more people could maybe recognize with it. Because I don't know, I'm really
Yeah, I mean
struggling with
his
the
his
number.
weight didn't bother me. I mean, I think it's fine if you want to go to the extreme. I think there are still things if it was well done and he was still that same weight, people could still pull out and relate to, even if it might their situation may not have been as extreme. It's just the way that the film treats the character and the way that the film praises sympathy, empathy, all that stuff, and just is the exact opposite of that. That
It wants
really
to say that
bothers me.
it's like, be honest, tell me something honest, but like I don't think anything here is honest. And if it was
No.
honest, then why are you putting on 7 pounds of makeup? Like you're
Yeah.
fabricating the appearance of your main character and then saying, oh, do something that's honest. Like there just is such incongruity between what this movie wants to be and what they think they have made and what it inevitably is. So
Yeah.
what do you give? You're giving it like a 2.8? Is
I'll
that what
say 2.8. Yeah. There we go.
2.8?
2.8 out of 10.
I will go. I'll go a 1.8.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
listen, whether it be the performances, the production design, I think they do set the house nice, and
Yeah.
it you
I
you can
really do
watch
want
it.
to commend the actors
Yeah,
too. I feel for them in a situation like this. Not
and
the
it's
best.
paced fine. I guess I never was
Yeah.
necessarily bored, but at the same time, it doesn't really structure itself like a real story because there's not really falling action, rising action. Stuff just happens.
Yeah,
So I don't know. It's
yeah,
difficult. There's a part of me that wants to give it a 0, but then at the same point, there are some worthy elements.
yeah.
And I do think you can see glimpses, however small
What
they are,
could
of
have
what
been.
this could be, what it could say, and the good that it could have done. Because I do think we don't depict stories of people who are overweight enough and their
No,
journeys. I just think that what this movie ends up doing more harm than good because we don't depict them because I think we as a society don't know how to talk about it, and this is an example of
of how.
of
Yeah,
how we don't like this is just the harm that comes of not talking about things because then things like the whale get made. So
yeah,
our average rating is a 2.3.
yeah, yeah. We didn't enjoy this movie, but if you did, please tell us what you thought of the film. If you didn't enjoy the movie, also feel free to tell us. Just comment your thoughts overall down below. Subscribe to stay tuned for more award season coverage and all that fun stuff. Like the video, and we will see you next time.